It's your faves. We're back. So today we're attempting to explain Brexit in under 5 minutes, and it's unscripted.
Tough.
And we're just gonna go at it, starting now. So, Brexit started in 2015, and it started as a basic idea for England to leave the EU.
For the United Kingdom to leave the EU.
Yeah. So the UK to leave the EU, and then they basically told the public that, like, they were sending billions of dollars to the EU every year on the side of a bus, and therefore...
not benefiting enough.
And then they had a referendum, which they voted to leave, and then the Prime Minister of that time resigned.
Because he realized he did not know how to do that. And the problem with the referendum, actually, is it passed, I think, 51 to 49, like, barely the public passed the referendum. And then the very next day, in the UK, the amount of Google searches for the word Brexit skyrocketed, so no one knows what they're doing. Which
And then,
still applies to today.
Yeah, and then Theresa May stepped it up. So she's like,
as Prime Minister.
I'm gonna be Prime Minister and figure this out. And she's, like, trying hard. She's trying. And it's been, like, 2 years, almost 3. And, like, they're finally getting down to the nitty-gritty, and they're like, what happens to Northern Ireland if we leave the EU?
Let's talk about the main pillars of Brexit that have become obstacles in this entire scenario. One is Northern Ireland.
Yes.
So Northern Ireland passed their own referendum outside of, like, all of the UK that said that they did not want to leave the European Union. So there was a lot of talk of them maybe leaving the United Kingdom, and now one of the biggest problems that is still causing a stalemate right now is how the border's gonna work with the Republic of Ireland, and, like, in terms of trade and importing and exporting goods. Then you have the economy.
Mm-hmm.
So they've come up with Common Market 2.0, which is basically a new trade agreement, which passed. It passed the House. Although they haven't.
No, and then the guy who wrote the Common Market 2.0 just quit.
Yes.
So.
And then Theresa May has tried to amend Brexit many times. Originally, they were going to do a hard Brexit, then they were going to do a soft Brexit. And so if they can't get a deal by the deadline, which they've gotten extended many times, then they'll end up with a no-deal Brexit, which means that they just crash out of the European Union
with no plan.
No trade deals, no plans, and basically, like, their economy will crumble.
And then then the third part of that is, like, the movement of people.
Exactly.
So, like, there are people who live in the UK
that work in the EU every day.
Yeah, but also there are people who live in the UK who are EU citizens. They're from other countries of the EU, but then they're like, so do I just get kicked out? Do I move? What is the plan? Do I have to get a new
a new citizenship?
Yeah, and a lot of people who retire, like, from the UK choose to, like, go to France. And then are they, like, kicked out of France? Do they have to go back to the UK? Things like that. Nothing is talked about. It's complicated.
Exactly. So border discussion is also a huge part of the blockage in Brexit, because people who migrate across the border, like, on a daily basis will not be able to, potentially.
Yeah, and so there's also a question of leadership. So Theresa May has
survived
two votes of no confidence.
A vote of no confidence is basically when the members of the parliament gather and they vote on whether or not they are confident that the Prime Minister is, like, good enough to lead them.
And so when you call a vote of no confidence, usually, like,
it usually means that you are not confident.
You're not confident. You call it, and then, like, people usually vote no, and then everyone resigns.
Yeah.
So your job's on line, and everyone loses their job. That's how not confident they are in Theresa May.
But Theresa May somehow survived too, and now all she needed before the deadline, which just got extended to May 16th, June 16th, May 16th?
May?
Sometime soon. What she needed to get agreed on was the withdrawal agreement, which is all she needs to present to the EU in order to, like, kind of get the deals in place while they work everything out in Parliament. But they cannot agree on it. They've tried 3 times now. No one seems to be able to agree on one driving force. So as of right now, the EU is getting very impatient, and they are not going to extend the deadline any further, I think.
And that's Brexit!